All right. So one of the questions that I get asked is particularly comes from if you rebrand yourself and no matter what you do, you're not getting the opportunities you want. And it seems that over time, all of the rejection and people telling you you're not good enough seems to make you question your value and your worth. And it really can take a hit to you personally. And I can tell you, I've been there. The first time I was let go from a very high profile corporate position, I for a minute was started to apply for jobs because all the jobs I had gotten to that point, I never had to actually apply for. I got them through networking. And so leaving a company where you've accomplished great things, you have your accolades, and should be easy to get a job. And every time you hear we're going in a different direction or you're not ready or whatever the excuse is, no matter what people tell you, you take a hit personally. You start to feel like, why, is it me or is it the market or what is it? But you really end up taking it personally. And I'm gonna say I know that I did. And so I get that question often, how do you overcome that? And there's a few things I want to tell you why I'm so passionate about my lens method, networking, influence, and all those things that are key parts of the lens method is because many times we get wrapped up in our title and our job, not focusing on who we are. And so when you are networking or when you're talking to people, I want to change, or I became passionate about changing and talking about who I am. And it just may happen to be that I do a job for different people, but that doesn't change who I am. So when you are starting to have some of that self doubt, I like to go back to some of the basics that help you understand who you are. And no matter where you are in your career, your personal development, there are some things that are true no matter what your background is, no matter how much education you have, no matter where you live, what country you're in. And these are the fundamental parts about you. And no matter what you think, you have greatness in you. You have things that you can give to provide value to those that are out in the world. So I usually like to fall back to the three things that I tend to work with people on when I first start working with them. Because when you're working for a company, you're used to talking about that company and you're talking about your role or your position. Very easy. And I can tell you guys, I'm talking about this now because this was part of my own journey. And it was so hard to go from talking about the company that I worked for, the products that I sold. I could do that all day long. But then when it came to talk about myself, then when it came important for me to start making content, it came to start talking about what kind of value I provide people, I used to shrink down and think, oh, I don't have the confidence yet, or I don't have the accolades yet because my confidence was shot because all these people or organizations told me I wasn't good enough for their job, or I wasn't good enough to get that promotion, or I wasn't good enough to land that client. And that is fine because there are some things that are true no matter who you are. So one of the first things I like to think about and talk about are what are your superpowers? Everybody has them, right? No matter when people tell you you're not ready for this job, that doesn't change the superpowers that you already have. And I'm not talking about the Avengers or X-Men or anything like that. I'm just talking about the natural gifts that nobody had to train. These are the things you're born with. I believe in God. So these are my God-given talents. These are things like not even specifically job related, organizational skills, right? And I'm talking physical products. I can pack a trunk like nobody. You would think my wife and my daughter would say there's no way it's gonna fit in there. I'm like, step aside, let me do my thing. That is a superpower. My ability to connect with people is my superpower. My ability to analyze data, something really complex, and make it simple, that is a superpower of mine, right? We all have them. And so I challenge you, whenever you're feeling like your confidence is shot because people are shooting you down or whatever it is. And I can tell you, even being in sales, this role, we get rejected more than any other profession out there. So we're used to being told no during my sales career. but trust the evidence because there are superpowers that you have. These are things you'll know they're superpowers because people will tell you, oh my, how is it that you figure out how to do that? I could never draw like that. I could never create music like that. How is it you can walk in a room and meet anybody? How is it you can figure out how to do X, Y, Z? These are things that you've been good at since you were a kid. These are your gifts, your skills. And I'd imagine if you struggle with it, ask 10 people, 5 people in your network, say, if there were things that you know about me that are just naturally, I'm just naturally good, you think this is my go-to person, they will tell you what your superpowers are. All right. So that's one. That will be with you forever. No matter what other people say, the evidence is that those are your superpowers. All right. So it's number one. Number two is, what are your skills? So no matter what your career profession, no matter where you're located, you probably have worked on certain things that have been part of your job that you've gotten really good at. So these aren't necessarily superpowers, but these are parts of the skills that you've developed over time because of the different positions that you've had. So if you've worked in the food industry and you have been a hostess, you're really good at customer service, especially if you've been effective in your job. If you have been doing lawn care, you know how to meticulously manicure a lawn. If you are a CPA, you know that you've developed a skill for working in accounting, right? So that's your skill. Skills are things you have developed. You may have even won some awards or accolades. Look at your past performance reviews. Look at the things that you have continually excelled in. Those are your skill sets, okay? Superpowers, skill sets. The third thing is, I bet, personally and professionally, that there are problems that you help people solve, right? So think about it. Over the course of your life, there are certain things people come to you. Again, think of, no matter what it is, personally and professionally. I'm gonna give you one that's not even professionally. Could have been, because I think in the back in the day, I could have been a DJ, but I was always asked to bring music to parties. Always, since high school through college, moving around, that was one of the things I was always asked to do. So I know I have an ear for music. I'm usually asked to help people prepare for interviews. I've been doing that for a long time. I actually interviewed tons of people, hired tons of people. So I know that that is something else people ask me to do. People ask, hey, I have a big presentation. I'm trying to sell something. Can you help me? Yes, that's something else, a problem that I help people with. So no matter what's happening in the world, no matter what's happening professionally, right? Whether you're going through this transition period, if it's like just hard to try to land the next job, if you've been on 10 sales meetings and you haven't sold anything yet, and you're really just taking a beating at your self-confidence, this is what I want you to do. I want you to trust the evidence and trust who you are as a person, because your superpowers, your skills, and the problems that you solve for people, that is something that you know to be true because there's evidence to back it up, okay? And in my lens method, why I talk about leadership, because leadership is not reflective of your title. It is your ability to influence others, right? And entrepreneurship is the ability to solve problems in a very unique and creative way. So if you have solved problems for people, that is very applicable. We learn how to extract it and double down and find ways to help you build that. Networking goes without saying. Your ability to connect with people anytime, anywhere, any place gives you power, because imagine what you can accomplish if you could talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere, and nobody is without your reach. And then sales, which a lot of people hate that word, and I use it because it works with my acronym. But sales is just your ability to create income, but typically that is through monetizing problem solving. Don't think I have something I'm trying to sell you. Think of, if you have a problem and I can solve it, which the evidence already says you can do, then there's a good chance people are going to give you money, all right? So that's how the lens method applies to giving you confidence. No matter what the world says, there are certain things that are irrefutable and part of you and as a person that won't change. They can evolve. I won't say they can't change. They can evolve. You might have different strengths. You might be able to solve different problems. But those are some things that I want you to do and exercise to help you know that in spite of what people may say, rejection, not getting the job, whatever, that's who you are. You can always evolve and get better, but that's a good place to start. So that is my answer to what do I do or how do I handle it when my confidence is getting shot because I keep getting downsized, or I've been downsized. I can't find a new job. I've gone through 100 interviews, and there's a lot of other things in between. But more than anything, I want you to know as a person that the lens method helps to bring out those things so that you know who you are, and there's certain types of work that you do for other people, but we want to focus on developing the skills that help you be unique no matter where you are, anywhere in the world. I am Kirk Barnes. Follow me for more. Go to my website, iamkirkbarnes.com, and use some of the tools I have there to help you get started in learning the lens method.